You were driving down the vast stretches of highway in the Lone Star State, expecting to see the booming economy everyone has been talking about for the last 3 years. You expect to see construction cranes busy at work and sold signs on every front lawn. But instead, you were greeted by something chillingly different. As you roll down the window, the air feels heavy, not just with humidity, but with the palpable anxiety of homeowners who bought at the peak and are now watching their equity evaporate into thin air. The Texas miracle, fueled by massive corporate relocations and a promise of affordability, has officially hit a solid brick wall. The frenzy that drew millions of people from California and New York has dissolved, and the fallout is creating ghost towns out of once thriving communities. We're about to embark on a data-driven road trip across 10 specific locations where the dream of home ownership has turned into a financial nightmare. You might think the crash is only happening in big cities like Austin or Dallas, but the data proves that small towns and exurbs are actually bleeding the fastest. We're going to uncover markets where inventory has tripled in a single year, in places where sellers are slashing prices by tens of thousands of dollars just to get a showing. Make sure you keep your eyes on the road, because the destination at number 1 is a market that was once the hottest in the entire country, and it is now leading the nation in price declines. Before we hit the gas and start this tour of destruction, please like this video to support our research, subscribe so you never miss a market update, and drop a comment below telling us if you think Texas real estate is a buy or a bust right now.
Number 10. Denison. We begin our journey near the Oklahoma border in the town of Denison, a place that was once a quiet escape but is now screaming for help. As you drive through the neighborhoods off Highway 75, you will notice that the for sale signs are starting to look permanent, weathering under the sun because buyers have completely vanished. Denison is currently suffering from a massive oversupply problem that the local economy simply cannot support. According to recent data from the Texas A&M Real Estate Research Center, active listings in Denison have surged by over 40% year over year, flooding a market that has very few qualified buyers left. The situation gets worse when you look at how long it takes to sell a home here. Data from Redfin indicates that the median days on market has climbed to over 65 days, which is a significant increase from just a few weeks during the pandemic boom. Sellers here are desperate, and it shows in the price cuts. We are seeing that nearly 32% of all active listings in Denison have had a price reduction in the last 30 days alone. That means 1 in 3 sellers is admitting that they overpriced their home and are now scrambling to chase the market down. Another shocking statistic comes from the foreclosure filings in Grayson County, which have ticked up by 15% compared to this time last year. This suggests that investors who bought rental properties here expecting easy cash flow are now underwater. The absorption rate, which measures how fast homes sell, has plummeted to under 2 months of supply in some price brackets, indicating a stagnant market. To top it off, mortgage applications in this specific zip code are down by 20%, proving that high interest rates have completely killed demand in this fringe market. You can feel the desperation as you drive past empty open houses, but this is just a warm-up for what we are about to see as we head further south.
Number 9. Sherman. Just a short drive south from Denison, you arrive in Sherman, a town that was supposed to be the next big tech manufacturing hub of North Texas. You might have heard promises about massive semiconductor plants bringing thousands of jobs, but the housing market here got way ahead of reality. As you navigate through the new subdivisions popping up on the outskirts of town, you realize that builders have constructed homes for workers who have not even arrived yet. This speculative building frenzy has resulted in an inventory explosion that is crushing existing home values. Reports from Realtor.com show that inventory levels in Sherman are sitting at their highest point in 5 years, with more than 300 active listings currently sitting stagnant. The median listing price here has started to crack, dropping by roughly 7% from the peak seen in 2022.
This is a clear signal that the affordability ceiling has been hit and shattered. What is even more alarming is the builder sentiment in this area. Local permits for single-family homes have dropped by 25% year over year, signaling that even the developers know they have made a massive mistake. You need to pay attention to the rental market here as well, because vacancy rates for single-family rentals have spiked to nearly 8% according to data from Zumper. This is hurting the mom-and-pop investors who leverage themselves to the hilt to buy into the Sherman hype. We are also tracking a disturbingly high number of expired listings, which are homes that sat on the market for months and failed to sell at all. In the last quarter alone, expired listings jumped by 50% compared to the previous year. The average sales price to list price ratio has fallen to 97%, meaning the average seller is walking away with significantly less than they asked for. It is a cautionary tale of counting your chickens before they hatch, but the trouble is even deeper as we continue our drive.
Number 8. Temple. Continuing our road trip down into central Texas, we pull into Temple, a town situated right on the I-35 corridor between Waco and Austin. You might think being in the middle of two major hubs would be a safety net, but for Temple, it has become a trap. This market is experiencing a severe correction because it became a dumping ground for overpriced new construction that locals cannot afford. As you cruise through the western part of town, you see row after row of brand new starter homes that are sitting completely dark at night. Data from the Temple Belton Board of Realtors reveals that the months of inventory supply has ballooned to nearly 4.5 months, pushing this market firmly into neutral territory and leaning towards a buyer's market. The median home price here, which skyrocketed during the pandemic, has officially recorded a year-over-year decline of nearly 4%. That might sound small, but for a homeowner who put 5% down, that is a huge chunk of their equity gone. The number of closed sales is another major red flag, dropping by 18% compared to last year. The pain is arguably most visible in the new construction sector. We have found reports indicating that major builders in Temple are offering incentives worth up to $20,000 to move inventory, yet houses are still sitting. The list-to-sale price ratio for new builds has dropped to roughly 96%, showing that builders are capitulating on price privately. Furthermore, the foreclosure rate in Belt County is quietly creeping up, with a 10% increase in filings over the last 6 months. Investors who bought Airbnb properties here are also panicking, as occupancy rates have dropped to under 55% according to AirDNA data. The writing is on the wall in Temple, and the ink is red. But the next stop on our journey has an even more volatile factor at play.
Number 7. Killeen. Just next door to Temple, you find yourself in Killeen, home to Fort Cavazos, one of the largest military bases in the world. You would assume a military town has guaranteed stability, but Killeen is currently facing a unique type of volatility. The market here saw insane appreciation due to investors buying up cheap homes to rent to soldiers, but that bubble has burst violently. As you drive past the rental signs that seem to be on every other lawn, you realize that the demand has dried up while supply is flooding the streets. The latest stats from the local MLS show that active listings in Killeen have more than doubled, increasing by a staggering 110% compared to the lows of 2022. This is a supply shock of epic proportions. Prices are responding accordingly, with the median sales price dipping by 6% year over year. That is a rapid decline for a market that is typically insulated by government housing allowances. We are also seeing that days on market have stretched to nearly 70 days, meaning homes are sitting stagnant for over 2 months on average. One of the most concerning metrics is the VA loan assumption rate. While VA loans are great, we are seeing a spike in distressed sales where sellers are trying to offload their low interest rate mortgages just to get out of the property. Local title companies report a 20% rise in short sale inquiries, which is a precursor to a foreclosure wave. Additionally, rent prices in Killeen have softened, dropping by roughly 5% year over year, which is crushing the cash flow of out-of-state investors. The number of homes selling above list price has effectively dropped to 0, a stark contrast to 2 years ago when bidding wars were the norm.
If you are appreciating this deep dive into the Texas housing data and want to stay ahead of the next market shift, please take a moment to gently hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us fund these road trips to bring you the truth. Number 6, Midland. We are taking a long detour out to West Texas now, entering the oil-rich town of Midland. This is a boom and bust town by nature, but the current real estate collapse here is happening despite oil prices remaining relatively stable. You are driving into a market that got incredibly greedy with pricing and is now facing a harsh reality check. The dusty streets are lined with luxury new builds that were priced for oil executives, but there are simply not enough buyers at these elevated levels. According to data from the Permian Basin Board of Realtors, the inventory of homes priced over $500,000 has surged by 35% in the last year. This luxury segment is completely frozen. The overall median price in Midland has taken a hit, sliding down by about 5% as sellers realize they missed the top. What is truly shocking is the volatility in the rental market. Rents in Midland have plummeted by over 10% in some neighborhoods as oil field workers choose cheaper temporary housing instead of signing expensive leases. We are also looking at a significant rise in days on market, which has jumped to 55 days, the highest level we have seen in years. The absorption rate for the entire market has slowed to a crawl, with less than 200 homes sold in the last month for the entire county. Foreclosure activity is also a major concern here, with Ector and Midland counties seeing a combined 12% increase in bank repossessions. Another data point that should scare you is the drastic drop in new permits. Single-family permits are down 40%, proving that builders have completely lost confidence in the immediate future of this town. When the builders stop building in a town known for growth, you know a collapse is already underway.
Number 5, New Braunfels. Heading back towards the chaotic construction of the Interstate 35 corridor, you arrive in the beautiful hill country town of New Braunfels. This town is famous for its rivers and German heritage, but recently it was famous for being one of the fastest growing cities in the entire nation. However, that breakneck speed of development has resulted in a massive economic wreck that you can see plainly from the highway. As you drive through the scenic streets, you will see thousands of new construction homes that were built for a demand that completely disappeared the moment interest rates hiked. New Braunfels is now the poster child for speculative overbuilding, and the financial hangover here is going to be painful and long-lasting for anyone currently holding property. Real estate data from the Four Rivers Association of Realtors indicates that active listings in New Braunfels have exploded, rising by nearly 150% compared to the inventory lows seen just 2 years ago. That is not a typo. Inventory has more than doubled, leaving sellers with massive competition and very few buyers. The median home price has responded to this saturation by dropping roughly 8% from its all-time high, effectively erasing gains for anyone who bought near the peak in late 2021 or 2022. You can visually see the panic in the builder incentives, with some developers offering up to $30,000 in closing costs and mortgage rate buydowns just to move units, yet the houses continue to sit empty. The resale market is suffering even more because existing homeowners simply cannot compete with those aggressive builder incentives. Consequently, pending sales for existing homes are down by 22% year over year, showing a near total freeze in buyer activity. The close to original list price ratio has fallen to 95%, meaning sellers are taking a 5% haircut right off the bat just to get a deal done. We are also tracking a significant rise in shadow inventory, which includes homes that were pulled off the market because they could not sell. That shadow number has risen by 30%, hiding the true extent of the supply glut. With property taxes soaring in Como County, holding on to these unsold homes is bleeding owners dry every single month.
Number 4, Denton. Continuing our drive north into the expansive Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex, we hit the university town of Denton.
You might expect a college town to be resilient due to constant student demand and a stable rental market, but Denton is currently the epicenter of a frantic sell-off in the northern suburbs. As you navigate the roads around the University of North Texas, you notice that the student housing market is saturated and the single-family market is stalling out completely. Denton saw prices double in a very short period due to speculative investing from institutional buyers. And now, gravity is taking hold with a vengeance as those investors rush for the exits. Recent statistics from North Texas Real Estate Information Systems show that supply in Denton has reached 3.8 months, which is the highest level of inventory seen in a decade. The median price per square foot has officially turned negative, dropping by 3% year over year. This is a critical metric because it shows the true value of the asset is declining regardless of the home size or luxury finish out. Active listings are up 45% year over year, cluttering the market with options that buyers are simply ignoring due to significant affordability constraints and high interest rates. The investor pullback here is dramatic and clearly visible in the sales data. In 2021, investors bought nearly 1 in 4 homes in Denton. Today, that number has crashed to less than 1 in 10. This exodus of capital is removing the price floor that many sellers relied on to keep values high. We're also seeing a spike in price reductions, with 35% of active listings currently carrying a discount tag to try and attract attention. The average days on market has nearly doubled to 58 days, leaving homes stale and stigmatized. Perhaps most alarmingly, the cancellation rate for contracts has hit 15%, meaning deals are falling apart at the closing table because buyers are getting cold feet or financing is falling through at the very last minute.
Number 3. Round Rock.
You are now approaching the outskirts of the state capital, pulling into the suburb of Round Rock. This town was famous for being the global headquarters of Dell and a safe haven for tech workers, but today it is a scene of real estate carnage. As you drive through these pristine suburban neighborhoods, you need to remember that this was one of the most overvalued markets in the entire United States during the recent tech boom. The correction here is violent and swift. Homeowners who thought they were sitting on a gold mine are now realizing they're holding a bag of depreciating assets that they cannot sell for what they owe on their mortgage. The data surfacing here is staggering and undeniable. According to reports from the Austin Board of Realtors, active inventory in Round Rock has skyrocketed by over 400% since the desperate lows of the pandemic frenzy. You read that correctly. There are 4 times as many homes for sale now, creating a massive supply and demand imbalance. The median home price has plummeted by nearly 12% year over year, which is one of the sharpest declines recorded in the entire state of Texas. This translates to tens of thousands of dollars in lost equity for recent buyers who bought at the peak of the market. Homes are sitting on the market for an average of 72 days, which feels like an eternity compared to the weekend bidding wars of the past. The close-to-list price ratio has dropped to 94%, indicating that lowball offers are not just happening, they are being accepted by desperate sellers who need out. We also found that new mortgage originations in Round Rock have collapsed by 30%, signaling a complete freeze in buyer activity. Foreclosures are ticking up here too, with Williamson County reporting a monthly increase in filings. It is a total reversal of fortune for a town that was once the envy of the national market. If you think prices in these Texas towns still have further to fall, drop a comment below and let us know your price prediction for the next year.
Number 2. Conroe. We now head east towards the humidity and dense forest of the Houston metro area to visit Conroe. This was once the fastest growing city in America, but that title came with a curse that is now playing out in real time. As you drive through the piney woods, you pass subdivision after subdivision that was carved out of the forest, and now many of them stand half empty or unfinished.
Conroe is facing a unique crisis of affordability combined with soaring insurance costs that is driving a mass exodus of potential buyers who simply cannot afford the monthly payments anymore. Real estate data from the Houston Association of Realtors paints a bleak picture for this specific area. Inventory in Conroe has surged to a 4.2-month supply, a level that signals a hard shift to a buyer's market where sellers have absolutely no leverage. The median price here has stagnated and is showing signs of a 2% decline, but the real story is in the hidden concessions. Almost every sale in Conroe now involves the seller paying for closing costs or repairs, effectively lowering the net price much further than the headline data shows. The foreclosure rate in this area is one of the highest on our list and is climbing fast. Montgomery County foreclosure postings have jumped by 22% year over year, a clear sign of financial distress among homeowners and investors. We are also seeing a massive amount of new construction inventory that is competing directly with resale homes. Builders have over 3,000 finished vacant homes sitting in this county right now. The average time to sell has pushed out to 65 days. Additionally, insurance premiums in this area have risen by nearly 50% due to weather risks, making the monthly payment unaffordable for the average family. It is a perfect storm of oversupply, rising holding costs, and diminishing demand.
Number 1. Waco. Finally, we arrive at our number 1 destination, situated right in the heart of the I-35 corridor. Waco. For years, this town was the darling of the national real estate market, fueled by the Magnolia Effect and the dream of turning every rundown cottage into a vacation rental goldmine. But as you drive past the famous silos and into the surrounding neighborhoods, the TV magic has faded, leaving behind a brutal economic hangover. Waco represents the absolute peak of the speculative bubble, and now it is leading the crash in the most painful way possible. The data here is screaming a warning that investors need to hear. According to the Greater Waco Realty data, inventory has not just increased, it has exploded. We are seeing a year-over-year inventory spike of nearly 60% in some zip codes. The streets are lined with cute, renovated bungalows that were intended to be Airbnbs, but are now sitting empty with for sale signs gathering dust. The short-term rental market here has reached a saturation point, and occupancy rates have plummeted, forcing desperate investors to dump their properties onto a market that has no buyers. The days on market statistic in Waco is perhaps the most alarming on our entire tour. Homes are now sitting for an average of over 80 days. Compare that to the frenzy of 2 years ago when homes sold in hours. This stagnation has forced sellers to slash prices aggressively. We are tracking that over 35% of active listings in McLennan County have undergone significant price reductions. The median home price, which was artificially inflated by out-of-state hype, is now correcting sharper than almost any other secondary market in Texas. But the real tragedy in Waco is the foreclosure outlook. Because so many investors bought properties here at the absolute top of the market using leverage, they are now underwater as rental income dries up. Foreclosure filings in the area are ticking up faster than the state average. The fixer-upper dream has officially ended, replaced by a reality of negative equity and financial distress. Waco proves that when a market is built on hype rather than fundamentals, the collapse is inevitable. As we conclude this road trip across Texas, the windshield view shows a landscape that is fundamentally changing. The days of easy equity and instant appreciation are over, replaced by a harsh new reality of price cuts and rising inventory. From the struggling suburbs of Dallas to the shattered hype of Waco, the signs of a total real estate collapse are impossible to ignore. If you want to protect your financial future and stay updated on this unfolding crisis, please like this video, share it with anyone thinking of moving to Texas, and subscribe to the channel right now. Also, leave a comment below telling us which state you want us to drive through next. Thank you for riding along, and we will see you in the next video.